Chris is our, whoopsies, sorry. Chris is our
So Termaine spent 19 years in prison after Philadelphia police shot him 3 times in the back while responding to a woman who had been attacked, deliberately planting a gun on him and wrongly arresting him for the attack. The Innocence Project of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania took on Termaine's case in 2011 and pursued DNA testing. On December 16, 2020, Termaine's conviction was overturned based on exculpatory DNA evidence and the finding that officers had lied under oath at his trial. Termaine is now a national speaker against wrongful convictions, gun violence, and the challenges facing our youth. He is also a volunteer at the Juvenile Justice Center. And I really want to thank you, Termaine, for coming and speaking. I mean, this is some story. I also want to mention a couple people who've been involved in this program. First, I want to thank Joan Charlson, who reached out to the Philadelphia / Pennsylvania Innocence Project so that we could arrange our speaker today. I also want to thank Bernice, who's been heavily involved in she runs this program and has been really involved in getting everything set up for today. I want to thank the many sponsors of the various speakers we have. I also just want to bring up on this coming Monday, the 12th, is Bruce Ledowitz, professor of law at Duquesne University. Restoring Faith in American Public Life is what he'll be talking. That will be 7 p.m. on Zoom and in person. So with that, I'm ready to hand over the mic and be quiet so that Termaine can tell us his story. And I mean, Termaine, I think a good place to start, if you could just tell us what happened here. So let me just mute myself.
Good afternoon. Make sure, yes. Good afternoon. And thank you for having me. Neil, thank you for the introduction. Bernice, thank you for reaching out, and to all of the guests that are listening. Just to clarify real quick, I'm sorry, this might be a little too bright. I see a little reflection. I'm sorry. Can you guys still see me okay? Okay, great. So just to clarify, it was the New York Innocence Project that procured my innocence, found me to be clearing me through the DNA testing of all of this, and to win my exoneration back in December 16, 2020, the New York Innocence Project. So in short, but I did reach out to the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania Innocence Project. It was a lot with that. It was a lot going on. And I want to add, I am now a board member with the Pennsylvania Innocence Project. So, okay. So, and there is an office in Pittsburgh. Okay. So, but, what brings me here today, man, this is 2024. So about 23 years ago in my South Philadelphia neighborhood, I responded to a woman who was screaming for help. I didn't know nothing, just that it was a woman screaming for help. By the time I got to the scene, her attackers had ran away, and I was in the process of actually getting ready to call the police when they actually arrived. So, they see a woman on the ground half naked, and unfortunately for me, a black man standing over top of her, they automatically assumed that I was her assailant, and they shot first. Didn't ask any questions, didn't try to ascertain what was going on. They shot me in my back with my hand still in my pocket on my cell phone. Shot 3 times. I survived, and unfortunately, because I survived, and they realized they shot an unarmed innocent man, this is when the cover-up ensued. I always have imagined that they automatically assumed that I was going to die. And so whatever story that they told would have been the story that they told, and they told a story that was quite fantastical, that I was the one who was assaulting a woman. In fact, that they saw me assaulting a woman, and that I stood to my feet and pulled my pants up and reached in my pocket to pull out a gun and aimed it at them before they shot me 3 times in my chest. Um, I didn't have a gun, so to attest to the fact that they said I had a gun, they planted the gun, and the gun that they planted was registered to a Philadelphia police officer, which was never reported stolen until the day after they shot me. So, what it boiled down to was my word against about 20 Philadelphia police officers that testified to against me at my trial. My trial lasted about 6 days, and officer after officer got on that stand and was basically saying that I was the assailant, that they saw me, and that I pointed a gun at them, and that they shot me in my chest 3 times. There was no forensic pathologist presented at the time of my trial to determine that I was in fact shot in the back. My trial attorney reached out to the surgeon who performed the surgery on me, and he said that it was beyond his expertise to determine which angle the bullets entered my body from. So long and behold, I was convicted um, of rape, aggravated assault, and possession of instrument of crime, and ultimately sentenced to 25 years um, within the Department of Correction. I wound up serving nearly 2 decades of that, 20 years of that, and throughout it all, I fought to prove my innocence. I appealed my case. After I was convicted, a surveillance tape had surfaced, right, of the actual crime unfolding. And this surveillance tape was withheld from my attorneys. And then the surveillance tape, you see the woman being attacked. I don't even match the description of the guy that they was looking for. Guy had a gray hoodie on. I didn't have no hoodie on. And you see this guy attacking this woman, and you see a delivery van making a delivery, and then you see, everything, but you don't see me getting shot. That is like out of the purview of the camera. But ultimately, this video was incredible evidence to my defense that was intentionally withheld, because the victim, being led by the police, had testified that her attacker had got off of her when the police arrived. And my attorneys didn't know nothing about the surveillance tape or the video, or the van that was in it making the delivery. And the van had parked right next to where the woman was being attacked at. And it made sense that for her assailant to get up when this van had entered there prior to the police, because once we watched the surveillance tape, a police vehicle never pulled up into the loading dock area. And so the police at trial naturally said that it was them that pulled inside there. But once we watched the tape, that wasn't so. And this tape was withheld. And this was one of the reasons why we was trying to get back in court. This tape disappeared. This tape is not even part of my file today, as if it's never existed. The surveillance tape is also from a hospital. I was shot on the grounds of a hospital, St. Agnes Medical Center in South Philadelphia. And they didn't take me inside to that hospital. I was on the ground for about 13 minutes, and then they drove me to another hospital. And by the time I landed at the hospital, I was absent of a pulse. So again, they wanted me to die, to cover up their mistake. But God saw fit for something else to happen. It was a long battle. I appealed my case for the most part on my own. Once I was sentenced in February of 2003, I wrote the New York Innocence Project, to take a look at my case, that I was actually innocent, that the police are lying. And here is why. It's a long process, unfortunately. There are a lot of men and women who are wrongfully incarcerated today. And they reach out to all of these organizations across the country. I heard Neil mention Duquesne. I actually wrote Duquesne back in like 2005, Duquesne Law Project. It was a correspondence back and forth, but they never took my case. So, that's some of the things that happens. I reached out to the Philadelphia/Pennsylvania Innocence Project in 2007. They initially took my case, but had to take a step back. I guess I'm assuming because of the closeness of the legal community and the Philadelphia Police Department in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. So it was almost like a conflict of interest for them to try to prove my innocence. So the letter that I wrote to the New York Innocence Project and the letter that I wrote to the PA Innocence Project, they kind of overlap one another. And the attorneys from Marissa Bluestein, the former executive director of the Pennsylvania Innocence Project, contacted the New York Innocence Project to speed up, to expedite the intake process for them to look at my case, because they wholeheartedly believed in my innocence, but they was being met with roadblocks because of Philadelphia politics and stuff and whatnot. So the New York Innocence Project took on my case in 2011. That's 8 years after I was sentenced, 10 years after the case had happened. And it's a long process. It's a long, arduous process of litigating and trying to prove someone's innocence, even when it's clear cut, because this country have what is called finality, meaning that once you are duly convicted and you get that one direct appeal, if nothing was overturned then, it's almost an insurmountable feat try to get it overturned later. And I was appealing. I appealed my case on my own up to the United States Supreme Court. But I was tired. I was burnt out. It almost, to me, felt like an exercise in futility. So when I got to the United States Supreme Court after appealing through the federal court, I foregone my appellate rights. I just was like, man, I gave it all that I could. I didn't have the funds to file the necessary paperwork to petition the United States Supreme Court. I was no fool. The United States Supreme Court only look at less than 1% of criminal convictions. They typically rule on corporate law and stuff of that nature, or death row cases. So I really didn't have a chance at the United States Supreme Court looking at my case. And then, God sent the message to me, man, by way of the New York Innocence Project, maybe 2-3 months after I foregone my appellate rights. And they took on my case, and it took them an additional 9 to 10 years to finally, prove my innocence through exculpatory DNA evidence, through forensic evidence as far as where I was shot, which was a big thing. They hired Dr. Michael Biden, world-renowned forensic pathologist, to look at my medical records, to look at the clothing that I was wearing that night, and to just read over everything. And he's concluded that, it was no way in the world the police shot me in my chest 3 times, that I was never facing them, and that they indeed shot me 3 times in the back. And the city of Philadelphia had enlisted their own expert, the chief medical examiner, to look at the same same evidence, and he concluded too that the cops had lied, that they actually indeed shot me in my back. So with that being said, that sped up the process, and I was ultimately exonerated on December 16th, 2020. You know, uh, the day that changed my life, when I got that news. I was being restored back to my family, back. I received my freedom once again. Albeit it took 20 years, but it was nonetheless a very humbling and emotional state that I'm quite frankly I'm still in. Just over 3 years out. While I was incarcerated, to bide the time. And I delved deep into my religion. I'm a Christian. I worked in the chaplaincy department. I'm still friends with the all of the chaplains at the penitentiary. The rabbi that was my buddy, Rabbi Ramarowski. And then we have a new one there now, Rabbi David Bauer. So, but I just, gravitated towards these men and women of the cloth, man, to bring me some peace, to give me some guidance, and just to keep me encouraged to move forward in spite of, sitting there not knowing if and when my innocence was going to be proven, and when I was going to be released, man. And also in between that time, I took up creative writing. I wrote and produced dozens of plays inside the penitentiary, man. And have the men lining up at the cell for cast calling. It was great. It gave me joy that this was, these plays, these productions that I was doing was me creating a different reality from the one that I was trapped in, my actual reality. And so I found that solace, that peace in the writing, creative writing. I took up theology. Over the years, uh, while I was incarcerated, I noticed that the men that were coming through the penitentiary were getting younger and younger, and they were staying for life sentence. And in PA, as you guys know, life means life. You sentenced to a life sentence, you are expected to die inside the penitentiary. Whereas other states, you serve 15 years or 20 years, you have the possibility of parole. And I'm meeting these young men, 18, 19, 20 years old, with life sentences because they got into a fight that they lost, and they went and got a gun and shot and killed the guy. And I just felt that that was too harsh of a penalty for a teenager to have to succumb to. So, and I seen that this younger population, they really love my plays. The penitentiary, Greatest Fort, where I was up Somerset too, which is about 30 minutes from Pittsburgh. I was up Somerset for like the first 5 years. I did a couple of plays up there. But so I came up with this idea for to talk to the youth through film, through and I created this acronym that I call STEP UP. And it's selfless thinking expresses potential that uplifts people. And what I do is teach critical thinking and conflict resolution. And through film, through short educational skits about gun violence, about bullying, about physical fitness, about drugs, and all of that. And I wrote all these scripts back in 2008, and I sent them home to my family with hopes of getting it produced. And it was a tall task. So they essentially sat on the shelf until I was exonerated. I come home and I produced two of the short films, and I turned Step Up into a 501c3 organization. And we go to schools all around the country. In Philadelphia, I've been as far as Portland, Oregon, talking to the students. And I go inside of these juvenile lockups, the Juvenile Justice Center in Philadelphia, and across the country, talking to the youth, because for the most part, I understand. I'm born and raised in Philadelphia, but also I've been inside the penitentiary, albeit no wrongdoing of my own, but I've been able to talk to and reach and empathize with this younger generation, man. And these kids, they get it, they need some attention, need some talking to, some tough love, man. And to let them know that that fight that you lost is all it is a fight that you lost. It's not the end of the world, and there's no need to go pick up a gun, go and shoot and kill that guy. That's and this is what I've been doing since I've been home. I've been I'm in the midst of civil litigation, as far as against the cops who did what they did to me in the city of Philadelphia. And I just go around the country speaking, and that's the gist of it. I know I've been filibustering for about a good 20 minutes. I can go on. Do you guys have any questions, any prompts? I'm all open now.
I have a question. The first thing, I mean, I have a lot of questions, but the first thing that I was thinking of in your timeline of what happened after you were shot 3 times in the back and they took you to a further hospital, what was your recovery like, and how long did you spend in the hospital, and where did you go as soon as you came out? Where were you in that whole process?
Sure. No, that's a good question, Bernice. They kicked me out of the hospital. I was in the hospital 6 days, Thomas Jefferson Hospital, handcuffed to a bed. And from there, they sent me up to the county jail where I was in the prison infirmary. There was no physical therapy. As a matter of fact, my attorney had to call and threaten the prison to give me medical attention, or they was going to sue him. I wasn't getting no pain medication or nothing. The first couple of months of this was horrendous. It was brutal. It was painful. It was the worst. It was bad. It was bad. I mean, if you can only imagine a prison infirmary, and a gunshot victim. I had 72 staples in me. Yeah, no. Like I said, by the grace of God, I really got through it all. I did my own physical therapy, albeit it was slow and methodical, but I kind of brought myself back, and you know, I guess this is just a testament to the will, the human will, and wanting to overcome and to survive, you know.
Neil, you have a question? And I see, Cappy, you gotta turn off, you gotta demute. Do you have a question there? I have a question. Wait, oh, there you go. What's your question?
My friend my friend has got a son that's incarcerated, was incarcerated at Green and now is incarcerated at Huntington. I think the thing that I learned visiting him was that in addition to being incarcerated, you know, there's no privacy. There's no such thing as privacy.
No.
And life is very difficult. I gotta tell you one-to-one that I'm sorry that you've gone through that. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Visiting him, we were checked, by the prison guards, and they're checking for contraband.
Right.
And what upset me is there's no way that an individual can bring any contraband in. It's got to be the guards.
Exactly.
I mean, I remember that the one time that I visited with my friend, they actually had German Shepherds, and they were checking under the car. I had to open the trunk, and I can't be a wise guy and say I'm not going to open my trunk, because then we wouldn't be able to visit our son. But I think the toughest thing is, just being, he's a voracious reader.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a wise guy. Highly intelligent. I mean, he did something that was horrible that he grieves for, and the fact is that a horrible thing happened. Somebody had to suffer for it.
Sure.
And he's suffering for it. So I'm just, I don't mean to be, I can't find the word, but I feel badly that you've gone through that. I mean, you, and coming out of it, I mean, you've got to be like unbelievably happy. Or just, I'm sorry. I just don't want to make you feel worse. I'm just knowing that you were incarcerated. That's got to be horrible.
Mm-hmm. No, so look, absolutely, it was definitely horrible, man. But I wanted to say this: the Department of Correction across the country, Pennsylvania, definitely, their design is to break up the family, right? They want to give you all types of hurdles just to visit your loved one, even just to write your loved one. Got to send a mail to Florida, somewhere down in Florida, the smart communications for it to be rerouted back up here to PA. Doesn't make any sense to me. And it's been going on for about, I've been home 3 years, maybe about 6 years now. So, and it's by design, for the family members and the friends of those that are incarcerated to suffer hardship. So as a matter of fact, when I first went upstate to the penitentiary, they purposefully do this. They sent me to Somerset, which is, as you know, about 6 hours from Philadelphia. So the men and women that are typically from, the eastern part of the state, they send them out west, and vice versa. Those that are from the western part of the state, Pittsburgh and area and all that, they send them down this way. And that is by design, because you got to get there. And then once you get there, that long trek, however long it takes, they put you through all of those humiliating things, searching your cars, searching your persons. You dig what I'm saying? The way that the guards talk to you. This is all designed to deter you from coming back. They don't want you, to bridge that gap. So I applaud family members and friends who stick it out, man, because I know how difficult and hard it is. My family was there for me from day one, man, and they never left my side. So that is an intricate part in my sanity and what kept me sound. You dig what I'm saying? Just being incarcerated in and of itself, guilty or innocent, is difficult. You know, it's by design, it's that difficult. However, now, but when you're innocent, man, and you try, they don't care about that. All they know is in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of the law, you were duly convicted. You know, the Constitution, the courts, the jury, they got it right. They didn't say to me, because you believe you innocent, go stand over there or go eat over there. No, I was with them guys. You know, I was incarcerated with them guys. Every time the jail got locked down because of a fight, I got locked down. You know, every time somebody got strip searched, I got strip searched. So, you know, it was horrendous and difficult, but the human mind is something, man. You know, you can, you know, create these alternate realities from the one that you are in, and just have that hope, and you cling on to it, man. And you just believe that one day, hopefully, you know, it won't take, you know, 2000, 20 years, 2 decades, but you know, that right will be that wrong will be right, you know.
Do you have another question? Or you gotta demute.
Listen, I'm sorry to have to ask you this, but
Okay, I did it. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. Whatever happened to the two policemen or the policeman who shot you?
Well, you know, so let me back up. So when I was initially shot and arrested, it was the internal investigation, right? And they got cleared of any wrongdoing. Then I go to trial, I go to jail. I sit in jail for 2 decades. And once my conviction was overturned, another internal investigation ensued because the DA's office found that the cops committed perjury. It was investigated, and it was deemed again that it was no wrongdoing. So the officer that shot me, he has since retired. He's still floating around in PA doing some other odd jobs. His partner is still an officer. The officer who we know that planted the weapon is still an officer. This guy, bad guy. He has a track record of planting evidence and drugs and guns and bullets and shooting innocent people. And he was just recently promoted to the crime scene, Philadelphia Police Department. So most of these cops are still on active duty and are still police officers that are fall under that umbrella of the union. And they are represented. They are being sued as we speak right now, but they are still running the streets, and most of them still have their badges and guns. Hence why I live in
Neil,
County and not Philadelphia.
Neil, you had another question. Why don't you go ahead and unmute yourself?
I'm curious. Have you sued or are suing them
Yes, correct.
for wrongful incarceration?
I'm in the midst of civil litigation now for my wrongful conviction for use of force, and a slew of other charges. Yes, I'm definitely suing. Absolutely. Someone had a question in the chat that I saw, and it says something about, is there any hope for change in the system? I mean, there's always room for hope, right? But it starts at the leadership level. So, I mean, John Shapiro, to me, and we just gonna talk about Pennsylvania, since we talking about the Department of Correction, so there's room for hope, and I do believe, and I am the ultimate optimistic. You're talking to a guy that was sentenced to 25 years in prison and always knew and believed that I was going to come up from out of that. The fact that I survived, so I'm the ultimate optimistic, and I do believe that there is hope, man. But with that being said, it's not for us to sit back and just to wait. We got to do something, and how do we get involved? We got to get out and vote. We got to hold people accountable. You dig what I'm saying? We got to change some of these laws that are in place. We got to hold people accountable. So yes, there is definitely room for hope. Whether or not it'll happen in our lifetime or in my lifetime is up in the air. But there's nothing wrong with hoping for a better day starting today.
I have a couple questions I'd like to ask. First of all, what do you think of, do you feel the Philadelphia DA, what's his name, Krasner, right? Do you
Right.
feel that he is making a difference?
Absolutely. He's holding them accountable. He is making the difference. People want to blame like the rise of violence and crime in the city on the district attorney. And it's not the district attorney's, no, that's not his job. His job is to prosecute those who have been arrested and charged, to prosecute the right person, the right person. Naturally, when crime happens, you want someone held accountable, right? Period. The DA's job is to seek justice, not merely just to prosecute. The policing, is another story, but they just grab people. Right, wrong, or indifferent, they grab people and they put all these people in front of the DA and they tell the DA, this guy or this woman did X, Y, and Z. Here's the charges. The DA's job is to sift through the charges, to one, to make sure you got the right charges, two, to make sure you got the right individual, and three, to prosecute that individual. But so this is the DA's job, and this is what Krasner is doing, and he is doing his job. So, and he is effective. And not only is he doing his job, but he is taking a critical look at things coming across his desk today, moving forward, but also he's taking a critical look at things, the sins from the past of his predecessors. And this is why you're seeing a lot of these exonerations coming out of just Philadelphia. He's not what's the word I'm looking for? A trailblazer, so to speak. He's just doing his job. And this is what all the DAs across this country should be doing, their job. I was the 16th person that was exonerated by him and his during his tenure, his term on December 16th. I was the 16th person. So yes, Krasner is doing his job. And we need so I met a DA, I met a district attorney down in Virginia. I can't remember the woman's name, but I asked her what she was a black woman, and she was a Republican, and I asked her what she thought of Larry Krasner out of Philadelphia, and she said that he's doing his job. That's how you're supposed to do your job. So this is what I'm echoing. White or black, the Democrat or Republican, he's a district attorney who just happened to have, experience or, in the field of criminal legal work. He used to be a civil attorney. He used to be a criminal attorney. So he has that backdrop. Most DAs come through the district attorney's office and they have this adversarial approach to everything that they do. Whereas he's coming from the purview of having both civil and criminal expertise in dealing with the law. So he's doing a superb job. He's doing his job, and he's making sure that they arrest the right individual, not looking back at a case 20 years later and say, we got it wrong. No, he's doing it right, and I applaud him.
And we have two questions on chat. Could the victim testify? And do officers have to wear body cameras now?
The victim did testify at my trial, and she testified to what happened to her, But then, so when you're looking at a rape and just the horrific details of what comes to that, and you being interviewed by cops, you're going to take the lead from the cops, unfortunately. And she took the lead from the cops and she accepted everything that the police said because the police told her we got the right guy. Not knowing that they really didn't have the right guy, that they really effed up, but they pry on that. But yeah, she testified at the trial and she testified to what happened to her. I don't hold nothing against her at all. Nothing at all. It was not her fault that I was duly convicted. It was the police fault. They lied. She told the truth. And what was the other question? I'm sorry, Neil.
Do officers have to wear body cameras now?
In Philadelphia, yes, they do. I believe they do. But
And do you feel that makes a difference, the body cameras?
in some cases, in some cities, in some states, it does. Again, man, unions are big, unions. And depending on who's running them, and how they are being ran, determines on what information from these body cameras that get out there. Like, so, the body cameras are there and the police don't have access to them. That data gets sent back to a database, but somebody runs the database, somebody runs it, and it's easy to hit a button to delete or erase certain incriminating things. So they there, and I guess the fact that they there, it causes one to pause and ponder. Maybe I shouldn't, If I do, my union got my back, So I think they help in certain areas, but not in all.
Well, two other questions. One is, was the actual rapist caught? And tied in with that is, did they ever did they have DNA tests when you were caught? When you were convicted, that why did they do a DNA test?
Well, they would have did a DNA test. The cops would have been held accountable back then for unjustifiably shooting me. DNA did exist back then. But they didn't do the city didn't do a thorough job. They didn't do the proper job. Again, this is go back to accountability. You only want to present and do what's going to be beneficial to you. You dig what I'm saying? It was there. It was there. They tested the DNA. They knew it wasn't me. That was documented, but they never pursued it any further. And no, and to the second part of that question, they never arrested someone for this horrific crime. They never even investigated it. You dig what I'm saying? Period.
So they've never. I'm sorry. I'm just out of curiosity on this. Now that they have the DNA and they have DNA banks, there's never been an attempt to compare the DNA of the rapist to the DNA banks that they have.
They did that after I was exonerated, and it came from the New York Innocence Project, and no hits has come back yet. But the police, law enforcement, no.
And your attorney never asked for a DNA test?
Yeah.
Did you have a public defender?
No. I had private counsel at my trial. It was DNA test done, and it said it was not me. It was I was cleared at trial, right? But they never pursued the police. The DNA crime lab never pursued any other testing or to further their investigation as to finding out who actually assaulted the victim in this case.
Did you ever feel angry and resentful for being wrongfully accused, and how did you deal with those feelings?
Did I ever feel angry? I mean, I would say in the beginning, yes, I felt angry. I was frustrated at the system, felt let down. But for me, what like kind of trumped that was the fact that I survived. This could have easily been the 23rd anniversary of my death, right? This could have easily been my 23rd year confined to a wheelchair. I mean, I still have fragments in my spine. So I chose to look at those things, the fact that I survived and the fact that I'm fairly healthy versus dwell on any anger and resentment and hatred, because that'll kill you quicker than a bullet, I just chose to pull from that part of it, even though I was incarcerated away from my family. My son was 5 years old at the time. When I was exonerated, my grandson was 4, you know, just to put that in perspective. I have a great relationship with my grandson, you know. The way, God have a way of making things right. All that I miss with my son, I'm reliving through my grandson. So I just chose to take not necessarily the high road. I just chose life, you know. I chose to have a healthy and live a healthier life and gravitating or hanging on to resentment, anger, hatred, vitriol, all that, that's not good. It's not good. It's not healthy.
And so what do you feel like, I mean, what do you feel your faith has taught you from this experience?
Oh, one, there is a God, right? One, there's definitely a God. And two, life is all about perspective. When you look at God and you look at the perspective of life, to me, they intertwine, right? So my faith, and I took up theology because I wanted an understanding. I needed to make sense of this. I used to sit down and chat with the rabbi up at the penitentiary, man, and he was so knowledgeable, man. He was a good guy. And and all the other chaplains, even I'm Christian, but even the imam, the um the Muslim chaplain, man, faith is something. We all religions somehow, some way they come together and they believe that there is a God and God intervenes with his people. And we all have different ideology as to how that happens. But at the end of the day, there is a God and you need to have faith. And we're not here alone or by ourselves, or we didn't just come out of this Big Bang theory and just say, boom, everything is just perfect. No, God is here and he is working. And and what we are to do, is to love one another, to grow and to learn and to mature and to love one another and to instill this into the younger generation. And that seems to be fitting right, but somehow, some way, life get caught up in there. We all get a little too smart for ourselves, and and all the different heresies and things starts to get inside of that, and then our own experiences, our own whatever it is that we are clinging on to plays a part into that. But my faith and my religion is what kept me through, man. Just knowing that God has everything under control in spite of, even though I'm in the midst of this storm, because that's what it was. It's kind of like I was in the eye of it, like a tornado. And when you have that faith and belief in God, it's like you're in the midst of that storm and you're going to get through it because you can still see the sun, and you can still see some peace and calmness around you. It's just that you're just centered in it and it's just going around you. So it's all about perspective. That's what life is.
Um,
It's a lot of
have you
questions.
found it? Yeah. Have you found? I'm reading the questions as they come up. Did you, so that everybody else knows the questions as well? Did you have any problems in finding a job after you were released?
No, no, I didn't. I didn't. My job, I did. So when I first came home, a job as in like a regular 9 to 5, I found a job installing key fobs for this company. That was a bit tricky because it was all technology. I have not a clue about this technology stuff. But for the most part, I am an independent contractor through the organization that I found to step up. I write the scripts, I do the virtual write shops, I interact with the kids. So I kind of created a job, so to speak. But as far as working, I even tried Instacart, that was pretty cool. Learning my way around supermarket and working the phone with the apps. It could be challenging and daunting in the beginning, but I figured it out. But I didn't really have a difficulty finding a job at all. It's all about your preferences and what you want, and how you want to fill that time, that slot, and to make a decent living at the same time.
If you had to pick the top 2 or 3 priorities in the criminal justice system, that you feel need to be changed? Particularly for the Black community, what would you say those should be?
The top three priorities in the criminal justice system. Representation, it costs. To get a good attorney, it costs. You're talking $20,000. And I think statistically, they say that the average person, this is not even dealing with color, the average person only have about 6 months worth of savings saved up. So if you take into the fact that a family member, white or black, a family member gets caught up into this legal justice system, you want them to come out their pocket $20,000 to pay for not great representation, but just adequate representation. That's a bit much, So, it all, it's that wealth disparity, unfortunately. You only gonna get what you pay for. So I would say that adequate representation is key. Now, there's some great advocates out there. The New York Innocence Project is pro bono, but they don't get involved with your case unless you get convicted, unfortunately, right? And then once you are convicted, they just don't leapfrog you. You got to go through this vetting process, and the average person will be wrongfully incarcerated for about 16 years. That's a long time, man. So again, adequate representation. Then you got, I don't know how this will be done, but you need to weed out corruption. And corruption comes in the form of judges, it comes in the form of district attorneys, and it comes in the form of private counsel. So you got to weed out this, and then policing plays a part in that. So it's kind of multifaceted. You dig what I'm saying? If one was to abide by the Constitution as it is, it maybe wouldn't be so bad. But there's a lot of different elements to it: policing, the courts, the representation, the interpretation of the law, and the interpretation of the law only goes as far as whoever's representing you, because there's your attorney's interpretation, there's the district attorney's interpretation, then it's the court's interpretation, right? And each court going to have a different interpretation. So it's a game, unfortunately. It's a game for this country. The criminal justice system is a game for this country to continue to generate money. This is what the United States is all about, money. And I believe it's $90 billion a year the prison industry makes. So so they're not going to let you come in between that somehow, some way, because to them, it's working just fine. But I'm here to tell you it's not working just fine. There's plenty of men and women who are wrongfully incarcerated still to this day. Still to this day. So something is wrong, for this country to be locking up its citizens at the rate that it's locking them up at. So something is wrong. So I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know if I even answered that question, but it's multifaceted. There's so many different angles that there's so many different things that need to be addressed. So many, as far as the criminal justice system is concerned. Follow the money.
Follow the money. All right, I just want to jump in because I wanted to make sure that you saw this comment that someone had written in. Hold on. First of all, I am so sorry the judicial system originally failed you. I admire your determination to help others by sharing your story. So I just wanted to say that because I think we all feel that way. And has your organization been to the Pittsburgh schools, and how can we connect your Step Up program to Pittsburgh, and how can we come see and promote your plays?
Okay, so as far as Step Up is concerned, you can email Step Up. Actually, we're on our website. We're online. It's stepupforyouth.org. Step Up is one word, STEPUP, the number 4, youth.org. And you can engage us through there, and we will come out to Pittsburgh. I have not been out to Pittsburgh school district area yet. I would love to come out there to Pittsburgh. Kidding me?
I'm sorry. Can you give that to me and I'll put it in the chat? Step Up.
All one word, Step Up, STEPUP, the number 4.
Okay.
Youth, YOUTH.org. stepupforyouth.org. See if I can type that.
Did I get it right?
Where we at? I'm looking for it. I'm still learning this technology. Oh, that's it right there. You got it correct. Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, and we have another comment for you. You are a remarkable person. Your goodness shines through your presence.
Oh, thank you so much. But now as far as my plays, so because I'm in the midst of civil litigation, I haven't produced any plays, but I will be on Broadway for sure. For sure. Maybe within the next year or two. Absolutely. Kidding me? Working on, I have a book, a memoir. That will probably be out within the next year or two. So, yeah.
I really appreciate your time. I just want to make sure, is there any other questions from anybody before we wrap things up? Right. Thank you again for coming in and speaking with us, Termaine. It's an incredible story. As a taxpayer of Pennsylvania, I'm not too happy about this story. I will say that much. I mean, I think it's terrible what's happened. And I wish you, how do I put it? I wish you good luck with everything you're doing. It's definitely been a very enlightening and interesting conversation today. All right, everybody, our next event is Monday at 7 p.m. And that will be in person. And the event will start, it will 7 p.m. is snacks, 7:30 is the speaker. So again, I appreciate everybody showing up. I unfortunately have to go back to work. So thank you, everybody. And next first Mondays we'll also be back in person with lunch as well. All right, thank you very much. Good luck with everything. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Termaine, thank you.
Thank you.
You just
We'll bring you
inspired
back for a follow-up to hear about your civil action and about your Broadway production.
Oh, absolutely. Not a
Yeah.
problem.
Lots of luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Be well, everyone. Take care.